Vin Scully spent 67 years as the voice of the Los Angeles Dodgers.
It's time for Dodger baseball!
Before he retired this year. Last week, the president awarded him the Medal of Freedom, and we caught up with him outside the White House. First, Vin, what does this mean to you, this honor?
It's about 20 miles above Mount Olympus, I think. I tell my friends kiddingly, I keep waiting for a recount. But I'm here, and I am so grateful and so humbled. The good reason to be humbled when you heard the credits for all of the other recipients, and as I said, gosh, I'm just a sports announcer, you know, so it was a heady wine up there.
Yeah, what was it like to be with that group of people?
Again, it was very humbling, but they were all very warm. They all ushered the same words as I would usher back to them, congratulations, and it was a very warm, charming experience.
Anybody you were anxious to meet in the group particularly?
I don't think I was anxious to meet anyone. I just seized the opportunity to shake the hand of everybody I came near to. Had you come in, I'd have shaken your hand right away.
Well, I would have beat you to it. Now tell me, what was it like getting picked? What was your reaction when you heard this?
My first reaction was, it might be a mistake, because you never think of this award. You might think of when you're in high school or college winning certain things, but this award is above and beyond, so I was totally shocked. I really was.
Let's go back a little bit. When you called your first game in the 1950s in Brooklyn, is that right?
Right.
What's different about the game now that you'd like to have from back then?
Well, first of all, in those days, we were going way out west, which meant St. Louis. So it was an overnight train ride. Today, of course, it's coast to coast. It's a great game, and it is spread wonderfully throughout the country. So I don't really want to go back. I like the way it is, and I hope it will just continue to progress.
How about the way the players played in the 50s? Anything from then that you'd...
There was a difference. The players in the 50s, number one, were paid for what they did. The modern day player is usually paid for what he says he will do. So they sign 4-year deals, 5. So it's a difference. And to me, it's somewhat counterproductive to have a man play, and if he has a bad day, he doesn't think I better improve. He can say, oh, well, I'll get him tomorrow, next week, a month. You know, that's the way I think anyway.
If somebody said to you, why baseball? What is it about baseball that you like? What would you say to them?
That I like?
Yeah.
I think one of the big reasons is everybody has played it. Do you ever see in the newspapers in early spring, they'll show 2 nuns throwing a ball back and forth. The point being, everybody has been exposed to a little stick and a ball. Not everyone is shooting baskets or running for touchdowns.
Baseball is a famously superstitious game. Everybody has a little something. Did you ever have a little ritual or superstition?
No, I never did. It would just be counterproductive to me. No, I never did.
Why counterproductive?
Well, because I might be worried about it before going in, or I don't want that to happen because it might lead. It's too much. It would be like a ball player going up to hit, and he's going up to hit thinking, no, I don't want to strike out, and I want to make sure that at least you can't do that. You go up and you concentrate, and that's it. And that's the way I've always been.
What's the trick to calling a game? Or if you had to teach me how to do it, what would you do?
I would quote Laurence Olivier, because I've lived by his quote. Apparently some young actor asked him about his success, and he said, my success comes from a humility to prepare and a confidence to bring it off. And I think the more you prepare, the more confidence you have, and they go hand in hand. That's the best of all.
You also have a sense of joy in what you do and wonder. How do you get that every time? You've watched so many games.
You know, I have a secret. When I was about 8 years old, we had a big old radio, 4-legged radio, cross piece underneath. I would get a pillow, crawl under the radio. The loudspeaker would be right over my head. And I'd be listening to Tennessee, Alabama, which meant nothing to a little kid, you know, in New York. But what I loved was the roar of the crowd. And so when I do the game, 0-1 to Charlie, my philosophy is do it quickly, call the play accurately, and then shut up. And for a little while, when that crowd is roaring, I'm 8 years old.
When Hank Aaron hit that famous home run, you called that.
Yes, I was.
Remember that for us. What was that like?
Well, it was building up, of course, all year long, and now here we are in Atlanta, and our left-hander, Henry Aaron, is batting against Al Downing, and of course you're wondering about the home run. But I didn't want to prepare anything. I didn't want to think of all the home runs he hit or how many against the Dodgers. And so when he hit the home run, I did what I really do best. I shut up. And I went back to the booth, and the crowd was roaring. It was magnificent. And while I stood there, it suddenly dawned on me. So when I went back to the microphone, I said,
What a marvelous moment for baseball. What a marvelous moment for Atlanta and the state of Georgia. What a marvelous moment for the country and the world. A black man is getting a standing ovation in the Deep South for breaking a record of an all-time baseball idol.
and to me, of all the home runs, that's the most important one I ever saw.
And you hadn't thought about that connection
No,
beforehand?
no, not at all.
You were quiet. You said nothing, I think, for 1 minute and 44 seconds.
I'm good at that. Really.
And that was you getting out of the way of the moment.
I did not want to get near it. In fact, one of the first World Series I did, and I'd been doing this, really every day, and someone hit a home run, and then they replayed the home run, and I never said a word, and the columnist wrote, perhaps Vin Scully made his greatest contribution by saying nothing. And I really took that to heart, and I thought, yeah, that's right. There's nothing to say except, wow, so I just shut up.
What speaks baseball to you more, the crack of the bat or the snap of the glove?
The roar of the crowd. I've been in love with that ever since I was a little boy.
What would you tell that little boy? He's under the radio, he's 8 years old. What would you tell him now with the award you've just received? What would you tell him?
I would tell him, don't be afraid to dream.
What are you grateful for?
I am grateful for God's grace to allow me to do what I've done for 67 years. I'm grateful for my wife, my 16 grandchildren, my 3 great-grandchildren, for a life that has been beyond fulfillment of a dream. Yes, I am deeply thankful.
You wrote in your farewell letter to fans, you said you would miss the fans. Some people might think, well, wouldn't you miss the game and the excitement? Why the fans?
Well, again, we get back to when they roar, I get goosebumps, and that's why I've kept young, I believe, because every time they roar, I go back to being 8 years old. I don't have a painting like Dorian Gray on the wall, but the crowd fulfills everything for me.
Is there any other moment from your career that when you look back you say, the Hank Aaron home run would obviously be one. Is there another moment where you say, that was a great moment?
I'll be very brief. I was in high school at the time, sitting in the back of the auditorium with the best athlete on campus. We were chatting, and he said, what would you like to do when you get out? And I said, I'd love to be a baseball announcer. He said, I'd love to be a baseball player. I said, wouldn't it be amazing if I became a baseball announcer and you became a major league player? It happened. 3 years into my career, he came up to bat. I was on the air, and he hit a home run. And I had to call my friend's home run in the big leagues. And that's why I would always say to kids, don't be afraid to dream, because it can happen.
Vin Scully, this was a great pleasure. Thank you, and happy Thanksgiving.
John, and the very same to you and yours.